everybody, and welcome to Jets Chaos with Jeremy. I am Jeremy, and I bring the chaos. And tonight, you know the deal. This is when I get somebody a lot smarter than me, so I could actually produce some content that means something to you. And we'll get started with all that good stuff when we return from this. Don't not be Thibodeau. And here it comes. It's about to come in. Oh, my God. They didn't. They took Sauce Gardner. Oh, my God. They don't want an edge. Maybe he likes Jermaine Johnson at 10. Then we're not going to get a wide receiver? Garrett Wilson, wide receiver. Oh, my God. No edge.
Who's sitting there?
The Jets traded up. The Jets traded up. Are we taking JJ? Are we taking JJ? Because I know Braden is in New Zealand saying, we should get Young, Mike. He's definitely saying that. JJ! We got Johnson! We got Johnson at 26! We got Johnson at 26! This is great! Yes! They took Roger McCreary. They didn't take Dean, and we traded up. We can get Jacoby Dean. We can get Jacoby Dean. It really is. They took Breece Hall. Wow. I mean, look, I love Breece Hall. But there's also Jeremy Ruckert, who I think is the best tight end in the class personally. They took Jeremy Ruckert. Yes! We got a Jeremy. Oh, and the Jets pick, and it's Max Mitchell, offensive tackle. We needed that. Wow. We took Michael Clemens. I never heard of him. A defensive edge. Okay, enough with that nonsense. Let's get going. Okay, in the chat, Nathan Colgrove was the first one here. Braden all the way in New Zealand. Jets fan United. What's up, my friend? Anthony G, what's up, buddy? Stephen Engel all the way from New Jersey. What up? Jets mess. There is some spilled food on those slippers. You're too observant for me. You're way too observant. Let's see. Bryant Sills here. It's good to see you. And my good friend, Mark Reese. What's up, Mark? Now, without further ado, let's get the show started. Kelly Wilson, what's up? And Mr. Magix. Look, everybody just keeps popping me down. You're not going to let me introduce my guest. And you all know who he is. But let me give him some music anyway and give him an introduction. So sometimes people come on YouTube and they try to give content and they don't recognize that they don't always have the expertise. They have too much pride to know that you need to bring in help. Well, I don't have that problem. There's no confidence here. So I go out and I find someone who's a lot smarter than me. I do that at work too. I find people that are smarter than me and know more than me, and then I take credit for their hard work. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the guy I will take credit for, Dom C.
Hey, Jeremy. What's up, Chad? How's everyone going tonight?
Man, it's Sunday. I had a tough weekend. I was sick all weekend, but I'm feeling much better now.
I'm glad to hear it, man. We had a heat wave here in Jersey, so I'm just trying to cool down and get it going, man. I tell you, every time you pop that intro on, I love it. You have to, on your tombstone, you better put, they got Jermaine Johnson at 26. They got Jermaine Johnson at 26. That should be on your tombstone.
You know, I knew when I thought up and realized I was going to do it. I said, even though I don't do the draft party and that's Green Bean and Ryan and Matt's thing, and I'm never going to try to like fight that. It's like I like to watch it and participate in it whenever, when I can. I said, there's no better version of me than when it's natural and completely organic.
Yeah.
And I was like, so I'm just going to put the camera on and I'm not going to play it up. I'm just going to react. And when that happened, man, because it's hard not to like play it up for knowing you're recording yourself. But there was no playing that up. When they traded up and I had to hurry up and get my phone on and say they traded up, and then they took JJ, man, like a lot of people everything in that draft clicked in that moment when they took JJ.
Yeah.
Like it went from what the hell's going on here to the most brilliant first rounds I've ever been a part of as a Jets fan.
Oh man, I agree. It was once they were on the clock, I think I knew I don't want to claim anything, but like in my gut, I knew they were trading up for Johnson.
Yeah.
And you're right. Once they got Johnson, then the light went off, and it was like, aha, now it all makes sense.
Yeah.
Arguably the best corner, arguably the best wide receiver, and one of their top 3 edge rushers on the board.
Yep. We ended up meeting the 2 positions that we all wanted to fill in wide receiver and edge with 2 guys we would have been perfectly happy doing it with 4 and 10, Jermaine Johnson and Garrett Wilson, and then somehow magically added Sauce Gardner to that. I don't understand how we did that, but JD is pretty special.
Yeah. Amen.
Jet King, what's up, my friend? How are you, Jet King?
I see a couple guys asking. I am from Jersey. I'm in Morris County, in Morristown, as a matter of fact. Just west of Morristown, I should say. So, all you Central Jersey boys, we're close.
Stephen Engel, I believe he is, because we always I call my other friend the postman, but Stephen really is the postman. So literally, not just because of his name. So if I remember that correctly, tell me if I'm wrong, Mr. Engel, but I believe you are a true real life postman, which means you're off today because it's Sunday. Johnny, what's going on, my friends?
Johnny.
Usfl are a great team. Oh, we're a great team. Well, thank you.
I'll take that.
I'll take that any day of the week. So yes, I'm a mailman. I remember, you see, Stephen, I remember from our conversations in the chats. And I remember that you live in a town, like in an area that a good friend of mine lives. And all I remember is when I used to go out there, we used to pass a Wawa. And that used to make me very happy because I am a very big fan of Wawa. So
there's things to be fans of, and then there's guys who are fans of Wawas.
Well, for a gas station type 7-Eleven type of place, their hoagies are pretty good. I mean, it's not like going to Lee's Hoagies or a real hoagie place, but it's pretty damn good. And they also get these, I guess they get them delivered every day to their Wawas. They get these pretty good Philly pretzels. So there's some good authentic food there that's really hard to get, in other places. And if you happen to pass a Wawa, you can get decent versions of those food. But anyway, Grandizer, what's going on, my friends? Stephen is a postman who's the USA overseas. Okay, so I love how people always connect when you start talking about what you do for a living and where you served and this and that. But yeah, man, I never had Wawa close by. I've never had it convenient. But anyway, how are you doing, Tom?
I'm well, man. I'm well. Can't complain. Can't complain. I'm busy. Kids are busy. Little league's in full effect, and Jets content is just pushing through. I got some new articles. I'm going to go ahead and little shameless plug. I got some new articles coming out this week on greenbeanjetsfan.com. So please support the website, support him, support me. Go on there, click it, like it, share it on social media, do whatever you can. The more people that get the word around, the better it helps. Not me, the better it helps Green Bean, and he's the Don of this thing, Yep.
Cool. And so we are hot clam chat. We got sorry, the hysterical chat here. So anyway, we got an exciting plan for tonight. A nice little game plan. We're going to go over specifically we're going to focus on the offense. So we're going to look at the different rooms of the offense of the Jets and compared to the rest of the AFC East. And Zom was awesome enough to create a whole spreadsheet to make that really easy for us. So we're going to look and just see where we stand in each room with the offense this week.
Yeah. Well, so when Jeremy and I were strategizing, I brought up the idea of why don't we just look position by position, position group by position group at the NFC East and see, how we line up or how we match up. And again, this is just my opinion on it. There's no factual to it. You may agree, you may disagree. There's nothing to it, and you're entitled to your opinion, and that's cool. But I think it'll be an interesting, a fun little segment where we can see everything on paper laid out and have some good talking points to it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And look, that's where you start to really start to figure out like how competitive we can be and where we stand in our division. And obviously different positions weigh different amounts, and coaching matters and chemistry matters. But if we were to go back 2 years, I mean, do any of our rooms stack up with any of the teams in our division? Like, what room are we compatible in?
Yeah, no, the roster as it was 2 years ago to the roster where it is today is completely night and day. I mean, and that's so much credit has to be paid for our upper management and our scouting department and Joe Douglas for really putting us in a position where we're set to now be competitive. We've talked about it for the past few months on any single show that we've had or any Jets content creator. They talked about how JD really had to strip it all the way down to the studs and build it right back up. But the foundation is strong now. And we'll get to talking and we'll get to look at it and go from there. And I'm definitely open to see what the chat has to say. If you agree, disagree, Jeremy, your thoughts as well, because this, this really is just my ideas on paper. Jeremy might differ in some areas, and he'll share his views as well. But just a good way to kind of prep ourselves for what we can expect coming into the 2022 season, man. I can't wait. Football can't get here long enough. I was at the dinner last night with my family, my wife, my kids. I went to this local, sports pub, whatever, and they had a football game on. The USFL. God, it was awful. Just awful.
It's hard to watch those games.
Oh my God. My eye ended up going to the women's softball tournament that was on, which I found much more exciting than the USFL.
I tried really, really hard to like the USFL. My wife was laughing at me when I put it on. I said, "Oh, you don't know, in the 80s, the Generals were a good team. We had this guy Leclerc on the defensive line. I don't know if you remember him." And I was like trying so hard to like it, but it's so boring.
Oh,
it's so crazy.
I thought
boring.
to say, listen, and maybe it's just we're just students of our environment. Like, I thought the same when NFL Europe was out there and so on and so forth. Like, I tried to watch it. It's football, but it's just like it's just missing something. I don't know if it's the names or if it's the attachment that we have to the NFL and our teams and our players, so on and so forth. That's what it is, man. Yeah. It's rough. It's rough.
Yeah, man. I mean, but also I was telling my wife, like, it's sloppy. Like the quarterbacks are awful. I mean, like, they're really bad.
Yeah.
I just can't believe they can't get better players, because there's still guys in my mind that like don't make the NFL that would still be entertaining to watch at their level. Like, I'm like, I don't understand. There's plenty of quarterbacks that like don't make the NFL, or their third string, they get cut, but were excellent in college. In Division I college, excellent quarterbacks, excellent receivers. Like, where are they? Why can't the USFL get those guys?
Right. Well, listen, think about it. I mean, this draft had 262 somewhere around there. 262 players got drafted to the NFL rosters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a fraction of, and I'm talking Division I now. That's just a fraction, a tiny, teeny little fraction of Division I players. Some of these guys probably move on to regular careers, and football, served its purpose, and they move on. They have no interest in beating themselves up for pennies on the dollar or whatever they're getting paid in the USFL or so on and so forth. Some of it, it's not. Some people don't hang on to the dream too hard or too long.
Cool. Yeah. I didn't know my brother was in Dallas. That's really weird. When I thought he just got home from a trip from Italy. He was in North Carolina visiting my parents. He was in New York. How are you in Dallas? He's all over the country. I can't even keep track of him. Yeah. It's crazy. But Yeah, man. Well, darn it. Look at this with fractions we're talking about. All right, so let's get to it, man. Let's share the spreadsheet so people can get a visual, and let's start talking about these different groups. I just want to start by saying, like, I can't get over how much better we are in
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
how much better we are, because literally anybody who questions Joe Douglas, and I know it has to eventually translate to wins, right? Everybody says that, and it's obvious. Obviously, we have to start winning, but you can't. I mean, how could you know about football? How could you be a fan? Look at what our roster was from 2017 to 2020, and just look at the rooms, look how it looked, and then compare it to right now. There's just no comparison. It's amazing. Like, how bad were the GMs before Joe Douglas? First, he had to come in, he had to clean up the mess, he had to clean up our finances. Then he had to like clean house and get these players out of there. He had to start getting players in. He had Gase in the beginning as an obstacle because he had to share responsibilities with him. So that delayed it. And then as soon as he took over the team 100% and Gase was out of there 16, 17 months ago, look at that roster and now look at today's roster. I can't say it enough times. It's amazing. But now we're going to get to, and I don't think we would have been comparable to any of our division rivals if you go back 17 months ago. Like, I think we lose in every category.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like I said, night and day from where we were to where we are. It's a beautiful thing. So, guys, before I share the screen, I dummy-proof this thing. It's nothing special. Color-coded. You'll see it. And we'll go position by position. When the screen is shared, you'll be able to see, bigger, the full freight of everything. But we're going to break it down position by position. So let me go ahead and share this. Share screen. Window. And boom.
Mark, as soon as possible. He gets an extension as soon as possible. We got to wrap Joe Douglas up. Yeah. You know what, Kelly, though? I mean, if I'm almost happy we have Zach, because that's more years before we have to pay him. And I believe fully that he'll be a Josh Allen soon. I know with Josh Allen, it's a guarantee because he's already Josh Allen. But just give Zach some time. I have a very strong feeling that we have the right guy. So let me, I don't know, hopefully people can zoom in on their computers or their phones to see it. I know I can zoom in on mine and see it. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Oh, okay. Just depends on how you're looking. Okay. So you want to, what position do you want to start with?
We'll start right at the quarterbacks.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So, I mean, this one I know is going to draw the ire of the chat a little bit, but I want to explain my thought process. First and foremost, I don't think there's anything to be said. Josh Allen's the best quarterback in the division. That's hands down, and the beautiful thing about that, there's irony to it, is that if you look at Josh Allen's first year, it was very, very eerily similar to Zach Wilson's, So let's just hope that Zach Wilson takes that next step and takes that second year leap that Josh Allen did. But head and shoulders, Josh Allen's a phenomenal quarterback, phenomenal athlete. First and foremost, I don't think there's any argument to be had there that he's the best quarterback in our division. Now,
unarguably.
Yes. Now, here comes the discussion point. I put Mac Jones second. Okay. Now, my basis was not, listen, I'm gonna call a spade. Mac Jones had a better season than Zach Wilson did last year, hands down. Is that my dog or yours, Jeremy?
That's mine.
Okay. I was just gonna go yell at mine.
Get it.
Okay. Mac Jones had a better season than Zach Wilson did last year.
Mm-hmm.
Dollar to donuts, I'll still take Zach Wilson's future potential over Mac Jones. But for argument's sake, in this little thing that we're doing, I gave Mac Jones the nod. Let Zach Wilson step up, take that really next step, and he's going to be closer to Josh Allen. I think he's going to be number 2 and a lot closer to Josh Allen if at this point next year than he is behind Mac Jones in number 3. So I have Mac Jones at 2. I have Zach Wilson at 3. He's the real, he's the litmus test to how this Jet season's going to go. If he progresses, if he builds off the momentum that he had in those last 6, 7 games, 8 games last year, I think we're in for a good thing. All the superficial stuff looks good. He's stronger. He's doing all the right things. He's all over the country. He's pairing up with his receivers. He's out there. The coaches are talking about him ad infinitum, how much better he comprehends the offense. How much slower the game's getting to him. Like, all these things are all positive. So I'm happy where Zach is right now. And I think he can easily be the better quarterback than Mac Jones in 2022.
And he just has to prove it, and he has to take that step forward.
That's right. Mac Jones was put in a position last year that he played good, but talent wise, I think Zach Wilson is hands down more talented than Mac Jones.
Right.
And then
I think it's fair. I think it's fair what you're doing to say starting the year Mac Jones is going to be ahead of Zach Wilson based on last year. You have to do that, if we're being grounded and realistic.
Absolutely. And that's the goal here. Yeah. And then last but not least is old Noodle Arm Tua, who I've never really been a fan of. And I think it's fair to say, I truth be told, I don't have stats in front of me, so I don't know what Tua's full line was last year. But I think when you're looking at these quarterbacks right off the board that, he's pulling up the caboose there, Tua. What do you think about Tua? What are your thoughts on Tua, Jeremy?
Well, I think, so I'm not as hard on Tua as a lot of people. I understand he has limitations based on talent, but at the same time, there's been quarterbacks that have not had strong arms that have been very successful in the league. So I'm not going to sit there. People were already writing him off his rookie year. It was kind of crazy. I think he's a much bigger question mark than Zach, obviously. I think he's the biggest question mark in the league. Like, I would be a lot more confident in any of the guys from last year, and Wilson, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, any of those guys I would take over Tua as far as who I think is going to make it. I'm not going to say it's impossible though. Like, I just think that he's like, his best case scenario, his ceiling is like an Alex Smith. And you saw what happened in Kansas City when they went from Alex Smith, who was good, to a Mahomes who didn't have the limitations.
Yeah.
And then you saw the change in that team. Well, I think that's the problem with Tua. I think, it's not impossible to win with him, especially imagine him on a team like New England. If he can be accurate, they probably, Belichick probably would be able to win with him. But I don't know about Super Bowls though. So I'm not as down and critical of Tua as other people. People are just outright violent towards the kid. I don't know why the hate is so high with him. But I definitely agree that I wouldn't rank him above Zach Wilson, even though the statistics might suggest it, just based what you see on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Because if Zach Wilson played for Miami last year when was asked to do what Tua was doing, I'm sure he would have done the same thing, if not more. Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what the new offensive scheme in Miami and McDaniel's going to bring to Tua. Do they bring that West Coast style offense that San Francisco has and the Shanahan scheme has made popular? Does Tua have the skill set for it? Do they still choose to run more, whatever they ran last year with him? We know that the deep pass isn't his forte, but he is mobile, he is young. He was a solid producer in college, and he's still, he's still learning the ropes. So I'm going to give the kid a break. I don't hate Tua. I made a little joke and jest about his noodle arm. Chad Pennington had a noodle arm also, and he was just dandy. He was just fine. So you don't have to have a pea shooter to make it far in this league. But like the proof is in the pudding. I want to, you need to see progression from all these guys. Yep. So quarterback, I didn't go into backups or something like that because it really doesn't matter. We're under the assumption that everyone stays healthy, so on and so forth. But let's get into the running backs because that's where I think this is interesting. And as you see, first on the list in green is our Jets. Breece Hall, Michael Carter, Tevin Coleman. Now, I said what I said before about the quarterbacks, and I based Mac Jones being second on the list on what he did last year, over Zach Wilson, And then you look at my running backs list, and I got Breece Hall up there first and foremost with the Jets. But I think the talent that Breece Hall brings, I think the potential of extracting that talent in our offense, in our offensive scheme, amongst all the other weapons that we now have in the offense is going to be lethal. And then tie that to the rest of the running back groups are very pedestrian, in my opinion. If you didn't have Breece Hall in there, just hypothetically, you can take any other rookie running back, or take Michael Carter, Tevin Coleman, and Zonovan Knight, or whomever the third running back is going to be. I don't think they're still that far off of some of these other groups, which is why I felt comfortable saying that I think the Jets have the deepest and the best running back group in the division. Buffalo's group of Singletary and Moss, they were good. They were okay. James Cook brings a different dynamic to that team. He's going to be able to do in the pass game what the other two can't do. So I'm interested and I'm intrigued to see what his skill set brings to that offense. And then Miami has completely revamped the running back room. They brought in Chase Edmonds from Arizona, who has yet to prove that he can do it day in, day out. They brought in Raheem Mostert from San Francisco, who excelled in Shanahan's offense, and is a Mike McDaniel favorite, but he's going to be 30 years old. He's battled knee injury after knee injury. There's still big question marks there. And they just recently signed Sony Michel, who I thought was a great backup running back. And if you remember, Jeremy, you go back to when we did our mock preseason, Sony Michel was the running back I really wanted to target.
Yeah. I did.
Yeah. And he stepped up. He was good in New England, limited, but good. Stepped into the Rams last year, traded and produced there as well. Listen, he's not a three down back in any way, shape, or form. I think the only 3-down back out of all these running backs listed right here is Breece Hall, or potential to be a 3-down back. And then in New England's running backs, I'm just not very impressed with. Damian Harris is a nice player. He's just a guy. Ramondre Stevenson's a big bruiser, short yardage back. And James White is that third down specialist, the guy that always kills the Jets. So I'll pay him some respect. They also drafted Pierre Strong in this draft. So he has some potential to, he's very fast, very sleek on his feet, great contact balance, just like, in the mold of Breece Hall. But, definitely not all around as good. So I like him. I didn't list him in the top 3 because I don't think he's in the top 3 right now. But that New England running game is very pedestrian, if you ask me. Your thoughts on the running backs, Jeremy?
I got to tell you, if I was to pick 3 running backs with the highest ceiling, the 3 running backs that have the chance to be special, I'm going to break it into 3 different tiers. Tier 3 is the pedestrians, and that's all but the 3 I'm talking about. They're all pedestrian. Okay? Then you have a second tier and a first tier. In the first tier is one man, and that's Breece Hall. He's the only one with the ceiling to be a Henry, a Tyler, a premier running back, an elite running back, top 5 NFL, 14 to 1,600 yards rushing, 12 to 16 touchdowns, dominant. Like, he's the only one that has that ceiling to me. I'm not saying that he's going to be that, I got people criticizing. You're so high on this guy. You're saying he's going to be the next Adrian Peterson. No, I'm not. I'm saying that his ceiling is that high in my opinion, from what I've seen, watching this kid's tape, watching the different skill sets he has, the versatility, like the well-roundedness of his game. I think he has an incredibly high ceiling, and he's the only name on this list that pops to me as a guy that could be, and I'm stealing this from Buffalo, the next Edgarian James. That's who
Edwin James. Yeah.
Edgarian James. Like, that's the guy. My tier 2, and that is guys who could be really good. They might be very elite running backs. I could be wrong, and they could be elite, but that pop over the others that I don't think are pedestrian is Michael Carter and James Cook. I think James Cook has some Alvin Kamara potential. So those are my 3. Breece Hall on top. So I agree with your ranking because the Jets, although they'll have to prove it on the field, and there's no 3 I would pick that you put on the spreadsheet over the Jets 3. I take Breece Hall, Michael Carter, and Tevin Coleman. And even without Breece Hall, I say Michael Carter probably along with James Cook, but he's a little bit more proven because he's showed it last year, are the top running backs anyway in this, in the division.
Yeah, if you just break down these running backs 1, 2, and 3, I think Breece Hall is the best running back out of that first line right there. He's better. I think he will be better than Devin Singletary. I think he's better than Chase Edmonds. I think he's going to be better than Damian Harris. Michael Carter, I think he's better than James Cook. I think he's better than Ramondre Stevenson. And, Sony Michel is probably the closest number 2 to him. And then the third running backs, they don't see the field all too much. I put Tevin Coleman on there, and I think you can make an argument. Listen, we're going to carry more than 3 running backs. There will be a 4th there. Who knows who it's going to be? Who knows if that guy is even on this roster right now? But Tevin Coleman's very serviceable. He knows the offense. He's that veteran presence. He can get in there and carry the ball 6 to 8 times if you need him. And, he still offers something, in regards to leadership and on special teams and returning kicks when necessary. So that's my take on the running backs.
I like it.
Good. So the receivers. And let me make this a little bit bigger here. There we go. So this one I think is you can make an argument on many different ways right here for the receivers. All right. But I thought the top 3 of Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Cedric Wilson is the best right here, right now. Pay respect to Tyreek Hill. I think I spelled Tyreek wrong now that I'm looking at it, but pay respect to Tyreek Hill. The guy's the top 10 talent. Jalen Waddle, caught 100 balls last year with Tua throwing him, with Tua behind the helm. Talented beyond belief, fast, can, very much like Elijah Moore, can play inside and outside. And then Cedric Wilson's the forgotten one. He came over from Dallas and, he made plays for Dallas last year. And I think he's going to be a great fit in that Miami offense. They can put some wide receivers on the field. They can put some playmakers on the field. Now, I have Buffalo ranked next. And I think like I said, when you go from Tyreek Hill, you can make the argument that Stephon Diggs might be better than Tyreek Hill. You can make that argument. You can make the argument either way. So Stephon Diggs might be the single best receiver in the division. But I think the top 3, Miami takes it because Gabe Davis and Jamison Crowder there's kind of a step down from Jalen Waddle and Cedric Wilson, in my opinion. Then they have Khalil Shakur, the rookie they brought in from Boise State, who I really liked his film. I think he can be a great ball player. I think he's very Braxton Berrios-esque, very shifty. He's, going to be relegated to the slot. Probably, steps up, learns a little bit behind Jamison Crowder, who's only there for 1 year, and takes over those slot responsibilities. And that's why, with Tyreek Hill and Stephon Diggs there, I had to put the Jets third. Now, 1 to 5, I think you can argue that the Jets group is stronger 1 to 5 than any of the groups, right? But, again, being a realist and calling a spade a spade. As much as I love Elijah Moore, and I think he's a wide receiver 1 in the making. I mean, the guy is the truth. He's not Stephon Diggs, and he's not Tyreek Hill yet. Could he get there? Yes, hopefully, maybe, but he's not there yet. All right.
Yep.
Corey Davis is a pick your hard hat, lunch pail kind of solid, dependable wide receiver 2, and you have Garrett Wilson. The stud, number 10 pick overall. Arguably the best wide receiver in this draft class that just came through. Can do it on the inside and the outside. Runs, excellent route runner. Tough at the point. Tough at the the point of reception. Can get up the field. Can play inside. Can play outside. And then you finish it up with Barrios and Denzel Mims, who I am on the Mims train. I'm a believer. I think he's I think he's talented. I'm taking I want last year. I'm willing to sit here and say that I think last year is going to be an anomaly, and if it, and I'll be willing to raise my hand and be the first one to say, well, you know what, if Denzel Mims shits the bed again, I was wrong on him, but I'm not there yet. The talent is the talent's, it's there, it's tangible. Now he's just got to put it together.
Yeah,
and coming up, bringing up the rear again is that New England core. They added Devontae Parker from Miami, a nice, strong, solid X, a little long in the tooth, but still productive. Kendrick Bourne and Jacoby Myers, they somehow see the field way too much. They'd probably be 4 and 5s on any of these other 3 rosters. And Nelson Aguilar and their rookie, Taquan Thornton, that they brought in that, they spent a high draft pick on. Some say it was a reach. Some say it was steal. It depends on how you think the kid was in college.
I think, he's fast, but he's not physical, and he's not a good ball catcher. He's not good at going up and getting the ball.
I will say this about Taquan Thornton. He brings a different skill set than any of those other 4 receivers on the New England team. They got a lot of bigger guys. They got a lot of plotters, so on and so forth. So Taquan Thornton can take the top off the defense, which is something that's needed. Aguilar can do that too. He just can't catch it.
Well, Jeffrey Kovac is in the chat, and he's saying something I really see as we're going through this. As we're going through this, what I realize is even in the positions that we are third, we have a lot of potential. Like we're third with Zach Wilson, but Zach Wilson might be right up there with Josh Allen in 2 years. We're third in receiver, but Garrett Wilson might take the league by storm. And Elijah Moore might take a giant leap forward, and we might be amazing at wide receiver. So there's so much potential in our team. And even as we later on, I see an offensive line, that might end up being different. And we might end up with the best offensive line in the division. We just have to prove it.
Listen, like I said, this was a skill or a drill that we did as of right now. This little color-coded spreadsheet could be completely different come November, right? But I digress. Like I said, you can make an argument that the Jets 1 through 5 should not be third in the division as I have them listed. Again, it's my opinion as of right now, but I'm paying homage to Tyreek Hill and Stephon Diggs, who are better receivers than anyone we have on our team. And that's no disrespect to the guys like Moore, Wilson, or Davis. I just speak the truth, and I don't think that's an unfair statement to say.
No. I mean, guys like that have to prove it. Like it's just we believe these things, but until they do it, you can't check them off as better.
Correct.
Right. But if Elijah comes out and gets 1,300 yards receiving and 10 plus touchdowns, then we look at this again for next year. We say, where are we now? Or we don't have to wait till next year. We could do it in November, like you said.
Yeah. So going into the tight ends again. I think from wide receivers, tight ends, and the offensive line, you'll see you can make arguments of flip-flop in a bunch of different ways. All right.
Yeah.
Now, I rank New England's first. Okay. Now, New England, the starting top two tight ends and our top two tight ends who were not on our team last year. If you put them side by side last year, their stats were almost identical. All right. Where New England had a few more receptions combined, and they had probably about 4 or 5 more touchdowns combined. Okay. So, do I think Uzomah, Conklin, and Ruckert as a whole could be better than Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, and Devin Asa? I can never say his name. Asai, whatever. Yes, I do. I do. But Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith have proven it right here, right now. All right. I want to see Uzomah and Conklin and Ruckert, which is a room that I think is not being talked about enough on the complete remodeling that Joe Douglas did. Like, think about the tight end room that we started last year, right? Who did we start last year? Tyler Kroft, Ryan Griffin, Dan Brown, right? Were they our top 3 tight ends?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, ridiculous.
Disgusting.
Right?
Disgusting.
Yeah. Disgusting.
Yeah.
The worst maybe in the NFL, or is right bottom 5 in the NFL. Easy.
Oh, easily. So Uzomah's presence, Tyler Conklin's ability to be flexed out and act as that big slot, and his ball skills are just ridiculous. I think one drop ball all last year. And both of them can get up the seam. That's something that we've missed so desperately. Now, the way our offense is going to be built, hopefully if we have more 2 tight end sets and, we're able to establish the run and pound the run, I mean, it's going to be play action. These guys getting up the seams, beating these linebackers. That's something that we haven't seen, It's just another avenue that can really support our development of Zach Wilson. I can't wait to see this tight end group play. And I don't think Ruckert's going to see the field a whole lot. I love the draft pick. I love the player. I love the story behind the player. I was the first to say he wasn't my top tight end in the class, but I thought he was the one, if any of them, thought that could have a better pro career than college. He was underutilized in college. They had so many weapons at Ohio State, and he kind of learned how to play tight end there. He was a wide receiver in high school, came in, packed some muscle on, blocks like a dog, all that stuff that I just absolutely love from a tight end, and still has this silky soft hands. He's going to be groomed to take over for Uzomah in 3 years, without a doubt.
Highest ceiling, I think.
He's up there,
I mean, I'm looking at this list and I'm thinking he could be the best on this list. He could be better than Hunter Henry, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If it works out. I mean, look, that's ceiling. I just want to let everybody know. I'm not saying that Jeremy Ruckert is going to be better than Hunter Henry or all these other tight ends. I'm saying his ceiling.
Yeah.
Because we don't know how good he could be. He could be very special, or he might just be very average and just be a blocking tight end in the league.
But I think the combination of those 3 is something that it's outstanding, And then I go to Buffalo. Dawson Knox had a great year last year. Dawson Knox is, he's a very good, I'd probably say he's probably a top 12 tight end in the league. OJ Howard, he's got more name than he does production. So I'd like to see what he does now in another offense. He couldn't hack it in Tampa. And then they drafted Jalen Wademeyer, who did not test very well, tested very unathletically, slow, but produced in college. So, maybe he takes that turn kind of like Jeremy Ruckert did, and becomes a better pro than he was in college. And then bringing up the caboose, Mike Gesicki, he's more wide receiver than he is tight end. He can't block, he couldn't block his way out of a wet paper bag, but he hasn't been asked to, He's their F tight end. He's their flex guy. He's Tua's safety valve. security blanket, and he does a good job at it. And then they back it up with Adam Shaheen, who's another guy in the same liking of Mike Gesicki, and Hunter Long, who's a second-year tight end out of Boston College, who's more of a blocking back than he is receiving threat. So,
these submissions is having trouble seeing because of the orange. It's not my spreadsheet submissions. I'm sorry. You should. Next time we'll put the font in black for the orange. If we end up for next week, we'll do that for the defense. We'll change the font to black.
Can you see this better? Hang on.
Oh, look, you can do it right now. Look at that.
Can you see that better?
Can you see that better, submissions? Look at that. We aim to please. By the way, what's up, submissions? It's good to see you. And I'll take the 10 star. It's good to see you too. Dark Soldier, I saw you. Thanks, Daniel Faust. What's up, buddy? Good to have you all here.
Hopefully that's better.
I think that's definitely got to be better. He's saying yes, and I could see it better. So
okay, great. Cool. So the tight ends, you can make an argument for teams 1, 2, and 3 being number 1. I think top to bottom, I think Miami's definitely the worst out of the group. And you can make your argument for the other 3. That's just how I placed them. I Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith lined up against C.J. Uzomah and Tyler Conklin are very, very similar. I gave the edge to New England just because, they've been in the system. They did it together, and they produced. So
more proven as a group. So, it's interesting. Miami, this is the AFC East is strong in tight ends overall because Gesicki is a guy you got to worry about. Miami might be last in tight end right now, but he's a guy that can hurt you in a game. Gesicki is dangerous as a receiver.
Absolutely. He absolutely is. But he's really going to be that fourth option now on the offense, right? Now, again, new head coach, new offensive coordinator, new offensive scheme. Shanahan-based style seems to, kind of lean towards those tight ends. So, does Mike McDaniel coming in help Mike Gesicki really take that next step? Maybe. I don't know. So we'll see. But top to bottom, like I said, I still think Miami's fourth in our division.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. It's what's up, Salty Nuts? Or as I call him, what do I call him? Salty John? Or Salty Nulty. Salty Nulty. All right. So that's the tight end group.
Yeah.
It's good. I think it's a great idea. I love how we organically came up with this with the chat and with us. We should revisit this sporadically through the season. We should definitely revisit this a month, every month maybe or something, and see if we make any changes in the rankings.
Well, and you also got to remember, realistically, the injury bug's going to hit, and Buffalo's going to lose some wide receivers, and we're going to lose some running backs, and New England's going to lose some. And however it falls out, these guys here might not be the top 3 or top 5 or top 6 at their position. 2 months, 6 months, 10 months from now. But, right here and right now, without any games being played, this is the best I could do.
Yeah. I just got to say, just to go back to some Jet excitement.
Sure.
Can you imagine if we hit the jackpot on Breece Hall and he really is just lights out amazing? We freaking hit the jackpot on Garrett Wilson, and he has a Jamal Chase. Different type of offense. It's not going to look the same, but imagine he's just almost uncoverable, explosive, creates tons of space, huge plays, and the line is amazing. Can you imagine if just everything hits right and Zach Wilson takes that tremendous step forward, he takes this big step forward, how special this offense could be?
It really can. You're right. All the ducks have to fall perfectly in a row for it to happen.
Right. It's a lot of ducks.
But it can happen. Exactly. A lot of moving parts. Now, before we get on to the offensive lineman, I want to step back to something you just said. And I think that Jet fans as a whole, listen, we love our guys and we support our guys. And no matter what team you root for, whether you're a Jacksonville Jaguars fan or LA Rams fan or a Jets fan or a Giants fan or whatnot, you always think that your guys are that much better, right? So I don't know if you did it purposely or subconsciously, or just just the rhetoric that you said, Garrett Wilson, if Garrett Wilson had this Jamar Chase kind of season, that's where I think we have to temper our expectations.
Yeah, well, I know it's very unlikely.
Yeah,
that's
an
outlier. I mean, Chase is an outlier.
First and foremost, wide receivers, well, tight ends and wide receivers, there's usually about a 3-year curve before they really get going. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, those guys, those are outliers. Those are guys that stepped in and stepped into the perfect situation. Were asked to do a lot, had stayed healthy, so on and so forth. That's more of the unusual than the norm. The norm is it takes about 3 years for a guy to really, really step up. And that's why they always talk about wide receivers having their 3rd-year breakout, and takes tight ends sometimes even longer. So that's why for the Jets, I love the position that we're in. We don't have to have Garrett Wilson come in and catch 95 balls for 1,400 yards and 10 TDs. We don't have to have it. He can come in and learn his chops and break through his rookie wall and learn the nuances of what it is to really be a proficient NFL wide receiver, right? We can have Jeremy Ruckert sit there and kind of learn the ropes behind two good guys ahead of him. This is the stuff that I think is the brilliance of Joe Douglas. We have good players, the Corey Davises and Elijah Moores and the Braxton Berrioses of the world, that can step on the field and make plays when asked, with that next step of guys here to learn and to step in when those guys start to play out. Jeremy Ruckert, he doesn't have to do anything for 3 years. But when Ozama's contract's up, when Conklin's contract's up, now it's going to be your turn, right? Next man up. That's the concept, right?
Yeah.
So, that's what I love. So let's talk about this offensive line group.
I'm surprised by this. I thought, you know why? Because last year, the big thing on Miami, and this is making Miami look like a very dangerous team, because the big knock on Miami last year, and Frankie from Flatbush said it best, was Miami has more holes in their offensive line than Swish. And now you have them ranked number 1 in the AFC East. So, and I know they made a lot of moves. So tell me about it. And do you think we have the potential to overtake them? Is there a reason? And are you concerned, and maybe this is a little bit later after you're done talking, but are you concerned that offensive lines tend to not look so good the first year of the offense they're going to be implementing?
So I'll touch the first point first. The first point you made, I'll talk to first, I should say. Okay. I don't believe that Miami's offensive line was their weakest point. I don't think it was their weak point last year. I really don't. I just think the offense as a whole was not in tune. There was a lack of running game. Tua's inconsistencies at best. Amongst a line that was still young and gelling. Now, top to bottom, Miami's got a very, very deep offensive line. Like I said, I went their starting 5, and then I put the teams what I would gauge their next best linemen. There's some tackles, there's some guards, so on and so forth. But you probably could have went a little deeper with Miami. Now, the addition of Teron Armstead makes them the best unit as a whole. I'm a big fan of Robert Hunt. He's a road grader. He's a big physical guy. I think Liam Eichenberg's a good player as well. He was one that kind of had to learn on the fly. Always played on the left side. They moved him over to the right side. So he's a work in progress, but he's talented. But the additions of Williams and especially Armstead really solidifies that offensive line. Now they have to play together as a unit, as they always do. You're only as good as your weakest link. But top to bottom, I think they're a very, very stout, strong unit. Teron Armstead is very, very undervalued and very underrated. He's a little bit older, but he just produces. He's produced year after year in New Orleans, and New Orleans wanted to keep him. They were just in salary cap hell that yeah, you have to pick and choose which way to go. So he was just a casualty of the salary cap, and his loss to New Orleans is definitely Miami's gain, and it's really going to hurt the other three teams in the AFC East, because I think he's that good of a left tackle. He's up there. He's up there with the best of them. So another you bring him in. You get Robert Hunt, who's young, Liam Eichenberg, who's young, Connor Williams, who can produce as well. He was a very high draft pick for Dallas, and I think he's like I said, I think as a whole, Austin Jackson, the USC first rounder out of USC, now moved to their swing tackle. As a whole, I like the unit a lot. Now, do I think that we, the Jets, have a unit that can compare to them? Absolutely. I absolutely do. Again, I went based on the fact that I think Teron Armstead, I'm talking between the Jets and the Dolphins now, Teron Armstead is the best offensive lineman out of the two teams, which is why I really gave them the nod. Now, I love what we've done on the offensive line. I love the addition of Laken Tomlinson. It's hard not to. He's an all-pro. Solid against the run, solid against the pass. Elijah Vera Tucker's rookie season speaks for itself. The upside that Mekhi Becton, if he can stay healthy, he can rival Teron Armstead for the best tackle in the league. Now, George Fant, great season last year. Again, I want to see him repeat it. I'm confident that he can, but I need to see him repeat it. And Connor McGovern's Connor McGovern had a good year last year. He had his ups and downs, but overall, he ranked, in the top 12 of centers in the league. I threw Max Mitchell in there just because, a nice young rookie. Let's see what happens. He's probably not our swing tackle to start. I would assume that's going to be Chuma Doga, and with Dan Feeney kind of being our swing interior lineman. So it's a great unit, better than we were last year for sure. But I still think, on paper right now at the end of May, I still think I'd put us behind Miami.
Okay. Okay.
And then we have then I put Buffalo. Buffalo added Roger Saffold into the mix this year. Again, coming from the Rams, Tennessee, solid veteran. Put him next to Deion Dawkins, who has had ups and downs. I want to love Deion Dawkins more. I think I liked him more in college than I do at the pros, but he might be a right tackle, or even better suited at right tackle or left guard, but just playing left tackle here in Buffalo. Mitch Morse is a solid center. Spencer Brown can still produce at the right side, and they got Cody Ford, who's a great swing interior offensive lineman. Can play all three middle positions.
Hey Dom, can you zoom in on your spreadsheet? Like literally zoom in and focus just on the offensive line so we just see them, like make it really big?
Yeah, let's try here.
See if that helps people. Because I can't do it because it's coming from your computer. So, because I did it on mine, but that doesn't help everybody else.
All right, hang on one second. Where is
like view?
Yeah, hang on. Here's view. Zoom. Oh.
That's going to be good when we find it. There we go. You may have zoomed it a little too much, but we're on the right track. Is it only? It's kind of back to the way it was, right? There's no in between.
Nah, I can't.
That's weird. Actually, yeah, I think we have no choice. Oh, well, that's a little better if you just now go across.
Yeah, we'll just go across like that.
Okay.
So we talked about the Jets.
Right, and there's
Buffalo's offensive line, and then we follow it up with New England, who made a very strange selection. If you know,
is Cole Strange going to start?
Cole, you find me a right guard better on that roster, better than Cole Strange.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Onwenu had a great rookie year and kind of took a step back last year, but the talent's still there. Isaiah Wynn, again, is another guy who's been up and down, can't stay healthy. Trent Brown is in his second tour of duty here in New England. And David Andrews is a great center. Trent Brown, he's serviceable, but as a whole, top to bottom, they're nowhere near, I think, the other three rosters.
Right.
So let me try this here. Hang on.
It's so interesting because it's so hard to imagine New England.
Yeah, so that was a crazy thing, and this wasn't meant to be like, yes, I hate New England. I absolutely hate New England. But I didn't let any bias play into this. I really ranked these positional groups how I really saw them, and it's crazy that New England has 3, bottom tier positional groups out of the 5 offensive ones, right?
Yeah,
they got one first, 1 second, and 3 fourths. Buffalo's got 1 first, 2 seconds, 2 thirds. Miami, 2 firsts, 1 third, 2 fourths. And the Jets, 1 first, 2 seconds, 2 thirds. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty fair, man. Offensively, when you're looking at it just at an offensive thing. Now, the single best player at each positional group, I don't think the Jets have. Maybe with Breece Hall, if he becomes that, they have that running back. But Josh Allen is head and shoulders above anyone else. Tyreek Hill and Stephon Diggs are head and shoulders better than anyone else. I think Tyron Armstead is head and shoulders better than anyone else.
Yeah.
Tight end it's kind of your own opinion on who you think the single best tight end in that out of those 12 listed are. So.
Right. And then you got to consider things like they might have the better wide receivers on paper, but the wide receivers, like for the Jets, for example, if everything goes right, it might not matter in the sense that they give the team everything that the team needs from the wide receivers. Like if we establish a dominating running game with our line and then with the play actions, kind of like Tennessee, you don't need to have receivers that light it up and are the greatest room on the planet, because they're going to have great one-on-one matchups and they're going to have mismatches in play action, and they're good enough to just get it done.
Yeah.
And to strike when you need them to strike, it doesn't matter as much. So it's not all about like, and plus it looks like, 3 out of 4 are not looking good, but we're not comparing it to all 32 teams in the NFL. We're comparing it to the AFC East that just happens to be really strong in wide receiver, because Miami and Buffalo are just very strong with Diggs and Hill.
Yeah. So I'm going to stop sharing this, and then we can see what the chat has to say. Any thoughts, changes, opinions? What do you guys say out there?
So I feel like Rusty is here. Oh, he's up there. What's up? What's up, Rusty fam? Hey, Rusty, I need you to one day. Hopefully, Rusty will be on when I do my call-in show, because he's one of the reasons and my inspirations for doing a call-in show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. I got the whole setup because of him, because he kept saying, you got to do call-ins. You got to do call-ins. We got Kane Golter joined us while we were on that spreadsheet. J. Cole joined us. Rob D joined us. Let's see who else came in. Tom Cahill came in. What's up, guys, man? I'm glad you guys made it. Yeah, cool. I love it when we all come together.
Said hello to you, J. Cole.
Is he complaining that I didn't say hello to him?
He is.
Typical. Zach really needs to step up his game. Should learn from Flacco. I think that Zach is going to step up his game. I believe that, but you know what? Until he does, there's only so much I could say. Like I'm just, I'm not going to go crazy in the sense of yelling at people. Oh no, Zach is going to be great, because the reality is we're all going to know the truth. Is he going to be average? Is he going to stink and not be the answer? Is he going to be really good? Is he going to be great? All of our questions are going to be answered in time. We'll have the answers in time about everything. So we'll let time do the talking. I personally am very excited about this player and think that he could very well become a very special quarterback in this league. That's my opinion. But it's not like, it's an opinion. And it's like we will know the answer if I'm right or wrong eventually in the future. Any insight on Irvin Charles possibly making the team? Now, Irvin Charles, I did something on him. He is about 6'4", runs a 4.5. So he's a big guy, really fast. Was bounced around a lot, so he didn't get to put up any production till his senior year. What do you know about him, and what do you think, Tom?
So, do I think there's a realistic possibility he makes the team? Probably not. I don't. I think he's somebody that we hope to stash and develop on the practice squad and see what happens. He's big, he's fast, he's got those intangibles going for him. But I mean, he's coming from what? Indiana University of Pennsylvania, right? He played for Penn State, got kicked off the team. Went and excelled at Division III, so on and so forth. So I can't see I can't honestly say that I've seen a lot of film on him, so I can't speak intelligently to it. But just knowing the depth that we have at the wide receiver position already, and the guys that weren't even mentioned on that top 5 list, or the top 5 that I listed there, I highly doubt that I see Irvin Charles making team. I know that he had some spectacular plays in the rookie mini camps and all that stuff, but he's probably a guy that we're here hoping to develop, can stash away and see what happens. Which is the case for most of the undrafted free agents, right?
Yeah. Yep, he transferred to Indiana. That's right.
That's what I said. He got kicked off of Penn State's team, or left the school for disciplinary reasons, and then went to IUP.
And that's another thing that we're going to be very careful about, because it's surprising when you see things like that and then they get on the Jets because we're so into character, but people make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like they're not bringing him in a prominent role or anything, or gambling the franchise on this kid. So, they probably have him on a very short leash. If he gets into any trouble, he's gone.
Yeah. So Grandizer got a question here, if you don't mind me.
Oh, okay.
Seeing it. It's 10:08 p.m.
10:08 p.m. Okay. Grandizer question. There we go.
Which Jets opponents are you revenge games? Which Jets games are your prove it games? And lastly, which non-divisional games are you most interested in? So I'll start backwards. The non-divisional game I think that I'm most interested in is Seattle. I just want to, there's still something that just wants to kick the shit out of Jamal Adams and that cocky attitude of his. Anytime I can see him lose is a win for me. So, that's the game that I think that's the non-divisional game that I'm most interested in. The prove it games, that's interesting. I think we start off with a prove it game. I think we start off with a very challenging prove it game in Baltimore. They're probably the better team. If things go right and we put things together, I think I mean this wholeheartedly. This is not like, jet-sided opinion, but I think we can go to war with every single team that we play this year. We could battle, we could play with every single team. Do I think we're going to win each of those games? No, obviously I don't. But which ones are the prove it games? I think Baltimore's a huge prove it game, right? That's going to be a good litmus test to see where we stand against the top half of the NFL, right? I think Pittsburgh's another prove it game, all right? Because Pittsburgh, they're a playoff team from last year. They have a solid reputation and a losing season in who knows how long, right? Since Mike Tomlin's been there. But they're now starting to do things a little differently. I mean, gone is Big Ben, in is Mitch Trubisky. or Kenny Pickett, whoever plays for them, So, it'll be a good test for our offense to see what we can do against that pass rush and that pass rush of Pittsburgh and TJ Watt and, all those guys there. And opponents are my revenge games. New England is always the revenge game. I hate to talk about interdivisional games because they're always big battles and big revenge. But outside of that, I don't know if there's a true revenge game on the roster on the schedule for me. Cincinnati, even though we beat them last year, I think they're going to be looking for revenge from the Mike White game. So, and I think that'll be a good litmus test for us too, if we can come in and smack them around. Super Bowl team there. So that's what I got for that. Good question though, Grandizer.
Rob D comes in with a good one for both of us. Would you rather hear that Lawson is dominating Becton or Becton's dominating Lawson at camp? This is a tough one because it was bothering me last year. But here's what I'm going to say. If I had to pick one, I'd rather have that they go back and forth, good days, bad days. That would be the best scenario. Becton won today, Lawson won on Tuesday. That kind of thing. But if one dominates the other, here's why I would say I'd rather have Lawson dominate Becton, because it would mean that Carl Lawson is back and healthy. Like with his ankle and his Achilles. If he can go in and camp and dominate Becton, it means that he's healthy and he's strong again. And here's the thing. If it's a problem where it's not just Lawson, but Becton's not going to be able to block premier edges that are really fast and quick, we could move him to the right side and have Becton play left tackle and have him be on the right side that's not as critical for that and be more of a run blocking tackle. It's not good. It's not great. And what I would hope is that in camp, sometimes the way practice is run, the defense gets the better of the offense. It's very common for that to happen. But at least there's a fallback to that. Whereas if Becton came in and dominated Lawson, I'd be really worried that Lawson isn't the same. And to me, that's a worse case scenario.
Yeah. So I'm going to respectfully disagree with you. And I'm going to take the opposite side. And here's why. If one, I agree with you that I didn't want them to dominate each other, back and forth and so on and so forth and both be great, But if we're talking about camp, I think that Mekhi Becton coming back to form is much more important for him, for us, for our sanity than Carl Lawson. And I'm going to explain why. All right. Mekhi Becton comes in and dominates Carl Lawson all camp long. They say, hey, Mekhi Becton's back. He's back from the knee injury. He's back to that rookie form that he was in, so on and so forth. Well, Lawson, maybe he's not pushing it. He's still coming off the ankle, this, that, and the other thing. You're going to give him a pass. If it's the opposite way around, Mekhi Becton's not getting a pass. There's not one of you stinking Jet fans out there. I shouldn't say that, but there's a ton of Jet fans out there with all this Mekhi Becton hate that if he starts getting dominated by Carl Lawson, they're going to say, see, he stinks. Get him out of here, so on and so forth, blah, blah, blah. So I would rather see Mekhi Becton come in healthy, prove that he's the dominant force at tackle that I really know that he can be, and then let Carl Lawson kind of come along slowly. We know what he is. Let's not push it. Take your time, slow your roll, save your energy, save that Achilles for week 1 against Baltimore, Ronnie Staley, and beat the piss out of him. So on top of it, to your point, I think Mekhi Becton, I think this transition of bringing Becton back and healthy, I'm completely fine with him playing right tackle. Because they've already said Laken Tomlinson's going to be left guard. I'm okay with keeping Elijah Vera Tucker and Mekhi Becton together on the right side. George Fant played much better as a left tackle than as a right tackle. So, I'm fine with him playing either side this year. And then worrying about moving him back, making him the franchise left tackle after you make a decision on George Fant.
Yeah. Hey, submissions, I don't necessarily disagree with you about Wirfs and Becton. I just don't think we know yet. So I know that you would right now, it looks like we would have been better off taking Wirfs, but I'm just saying let's wait until after this season. Let's see if Becton stays healthy, what he turns out to be. I don't think the decision, I don't think it's measurable yet. I think that sometimes you have to wait a more than 2 years to know who's the better pick. Andrew Thomas looked like a horrendously bad pick for the Giants after year one. Doesn't look so bad after year two. So we'll see. Modine says, Chaos and Dom, who should the Jets draft a quarterback in the next draft? So here's Modine does not like Zach Wilson, and he thinks that we're going to be drafting a replacement quarterback. So I'll tell you this, Modine. We have a very different opinion and a different view on this. So much so that if it was legal to do this and we could have lawyers draw up the contract, I would bet you $50,000 that the Jets don't draft a replacement or go out and get a replacement quarterback for Zach Wilson, barring injury. So if they draft a guy in the 5th or 6th, 7th round, as a backup, that doesn't count. I'm talking about like 1st or 2nd round draft or signing a real quarterback with the intention of starting them because Zach Wilson's a bust. I would bet you $50,000 that will not happen. And what I'm saying is that's not mean that I'm not confident Zach is going to be great. I'm not confident that Zach's not going to do anything this year that's going to have our staff thinking they have to replace him as our starter. Meaning he might take a small step forward. He might not, he might not take the step that we want, but he's not going to play so poorly or do anything that's going to make them all of a sudden say, we have the wrong quarterback. We have to replace him. No way, no how. They love him. They're watching him every day practice. They see him in the film room where we don't see him. They see his edge, how smart he is, and they see the talent in a different way than we do, and they love him. And the players love him and are constantly saying this kid is going to be a problem in this league. So we disagree on it, man. And I'm just saying I would bet $50,000 that he's not going to play bad enough that we're looking for a new quarterback at the end of this season.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that. Your sentiment that next year we're not going to be looking for a quarterback. Right. I don't know if that. Listen, just because of his capital, where we took him 2 overall, right? He's going to play 4 years. He's going to play 5 years. If he's anything like he was at the end of last year, he's going to get that 5th year option. He's going to work through this contract. I just don't see that he's an absolute bust. Oh my God, I'm drawing completely Achilles Smith from Cincinnati. I'm thinking of all the busts, early busts that we had. Ryan Leaf from San Diego, Achilles Smith from Cincinnati,
Rosen.
Yeah, Rosen was, but even Rosen was a 10th overall pick. I'm talking like the top 2 or 3. The kid, what was the big kid from LSU? Was drafted by the Raiders, number 1 overall. Jamarcus Russell. Yeah, I don't see Zach Wilson busting like those guys. So I don't think that we're going to be in the market for a quarterback next year.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine because we saw the talent, we saw the flashes. It's not like if he didn't have any flashes, I would be very, very worried. But he had the flashes. He definitely did. He had the flashes just like Josh Allen did. Josh Allen was horrible, disgusting rookie year, but he had the flashes, and Zach had the flashes. He had plays that were amazing. And the talent, you could see the talent. There were throws he made and just his instincts. There were things he did that was so good. And then on top of that, if he was a bust like those guys, he wouldn't have gotten better when he came back from the injury. He was clearly better. Even against Buffalo with the decimated team around him, he held in better than White did. And then what he did against Tampa was amazing. Incredibly, went toe-to-toe with them with what? With backup players, backup receivers, backup offensive linemen. He was keeping them in the game. It was Zach keeping that offense alive and functioning.
Yeah. Listen, there's no doubt that he has to improve. And really, this tenure of what we have right now is completely, hitched on to the back of Zach Wilson. Listen, he's got to improve. He's got to be better. He's got to play better. But there's nothing. There's no way that I don't see him being our starting quarterback next year, barring injury.
Right. Right.
Listen, when his contract's done, if he's still, lower the pack, mediocre, Sam Darnold-ish, could they move on? Absolutely. And I could say that's fair, but not after 2 years, not after 1 year. That year that he had last year, with nothing around him, no weapons, everything decimated. I think we're going into this year, and they're taking last year, they're chalking it up to rookie injuries, new offense, the whole new coaching staff. Let's get that behind us. Now we got something to build off of. Yeah. So
now, Modine, I believe that Zach Wilson is the franchise quarterback and will prove to be. I would not bet $50,000 on it. I'm not saying I'm not confident. Quarterback is a tricky position. There's a lot of things that could go wrong. I'm just saying they're not going to be looking to replace him next year. Look, if everybody judged a quarterback by 1 year, Josh Allen wouldn't. Can you imagine if the Bills would have replaced and gotten rid of Josh Allen?
Troy Aikman, Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning. But Josh Allen went to a small school. His numbers weren't good. They based it on talent. They saw the talent. They said, wow, we're going to coach this guy up. He's he's a superb talent. And they were right about him. And Zach Wilson is very similar to Josh Allen in that way. They have similar attributes. Zach Wilson actually looks up to Josh Allen. He's a big fan of his and actually watches his game. And it's the same kind of situation. It's super talent, small school, needs to adjust to the league. He wasn't pro ready year one out of the gate, but we don't know. There's no way to know, but the talent is there. The ability is there. The arm, the ability to go off script. I mean, everything is there. It's just a matter of the one thing you can't measure. Will he be able to slow the game down enough? Josh Allen has gotten that ability to slow the game down enough, read defenses, progress through the progressions, and utilize his talent. Will Zach be able to do that? Will that happen with him? That's the question.
I just think it's way too premature to call him a bust. Listen, I also, in fairness, I think it's probably too soon also to say that he's the franchise quarterback, and he's the next guy that's going to get $40 million a year, Yeah. He can work towards that. I'm a believer in his skills. I'm a believer in the player. His arm talent speaks for itself. His off script plays, what he can do off script, speaks for itself. I just think it's too premature on both ends to say he is or he isn't.
Right. We don't know for sure if he is or isn't. Now, we could have opinions. And Mo's opinion overall is no. My overall opinion is yes. And some people are in the middle.
Yeah.
I definitely am one of the stronger supporters of Zach Wilson. But it's not blind. I understand that I might be wrong. There were other guys I thought were going to work out and be much better.
I was as big of a Sam supporter as they came.
Mm-hmm.
And I still think to some extent Sam got a raw deal. Joe Douglas is doing for Zach Wilson what nobody did for Sam Darnold, right? They're giving him the skill. They're giving him the weapons to succeed. They're putting playmakers on the field. They're building the front. We draft Sam Darnold, and then what do we take after that? Defensive lineman after defensive lineman, after safety. Nothing there to help him. On top of the coaches that the carousel of coaches and offensive coordinators that he had, Sam Darnold got a raw deal. Now listen, maybe he wasn't as talented as I thought he was, in fairness, but he got a raw deal. He got no support, got little to no coaching, and that just turned over that time after time. That's not what Zach has. What I mean? So Zach's going to have the same offensive coordinator, probably through his first contract, barring some sort of epic meltdown.
Yeah. Hey, welcome to the channel, Josh Allen Fan 17. You're more than welcome to be here. We have Miami Dolphin fans here all the time. It's totally cool. Hopefully, we can keep the conversations productive and respectful. Hopefully, my chat will respect you if you respect them. And I'm more than happy to have you here to talk and give your perspective of the Bills. You're more than welcome, and I appreciate the support. If you want to sub and be in our streams. We go live, or I go live, typically every Sunday and Wednesday. We have a Wacky Wednesday show at 10 p.m. on Wednesdays, 10 p.m. Eastern. And we have lately we've been going on a 9 on Sundays. We've been starting at 9. I think that's better.
Yep.
And we'll continue to do that. And then sometimes 80% of the time, I do a Friday night hangout show at like 10 p.m. Eastern on Friday. And then I have a lot of videos too. So I would truly welcome your comments and your opinions and the perspective of a Bills fan. So, as you can hear, we try to be really fair here. Like nobody here in their right mind is going to say that the Bills stink or that Josh Allen isn't great. You hear us talking about Zach Wilson. Our biggest dream is that Zach Wilson will develop into the next Josh Allen. So kudos to you, and good for you, man, that you have that your quarterback worked out. We're hoping ours does the same. I agree. I never truly felt that Darnold was how long term. He just looked like he was horrified to be out there. I was a question mark on Sam Darnold. I usually give up a lot sooner than other people. Never 1 year, but like for example, I was one of the very early people to give up on Sanchez. What happened was he had his 2 years. He made the 2 AFC championships. And what I would always tell my wife is I'd say, we got to get rid of him. We got to get rid of him. And she'd say, why do you got to get rid of him? He was, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Year 3. And I said, well, this is the year they started relying on him to be a quarterback and not just run the ball. And he can't do it. And then to me, it was obvious. I go, he's not a good quarterback. He's not leading the team. He's not lighting, he's not developing or getting better. And then I gave up on Sam Darnold when, season 3, when he didn't come out and progress season 3, I knew it was over. Right, very early in the season, I said, "No." Nah,
yeah, I started having trepidations at the Seeing Ghosts game.
Oh,
that's when I started to doubt him. But
yeah. But it just happens, and we move on. I wouldn't change anything that happened. Like I wouldn't change a single thing. I love where we are right now.
Yep.
And if it took everything the past 4 years to get there, then so be it. I wouldn't change it now because any change that could affect who we have now, I don't want to do. I love what this team is right now. I love what we're developing into. I think there's a possibility, unless this is all an illusion and I'm just like delusional, that we are building one of the best potential rosters we've ever had. That's how it feels to me.
Definitely the deepest, for sure. Definitely the deepest, for sure.
When I look at guys like it's totally J. Cole. Okay, so this guy is just 1 second. It's totally just, to me, it's just, I've never seen like a team build, like just rip it down and build it back up as quickly and as solidly as this team is doing it. When I look at guys like AVT and Becton, like the potential, and then throwing Lakin obviously on top of that, and Fance and finding him and the way he played last year, and then like Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson, and then you got the more veteran guy, Corey Davis, and then you could bring in these 2 tight ends, and you draft Ruckert, and you got Breece Hall and Michael Carter. When I'm, the defensive line, getting JJ and Carl Lawson and JFM and Q Williams and Michael Clemens and all these other guys, and then Sauce Gardner and bringing in Whitehead and Reed. It's so exciting to me. I can't remember a time when we have so many exciting players.
I can't disagree with anything you said, man. It's a fun time. It's a fun time to be a Jets fan, And usually in May and June it is. Let's hope we're saying the same thing in October.
Yeah. But what is Modine saying? I do pray to the ferryman and the clowns that this works out for the Jets, or it'll be another decade of woe. I know. And no matter, like there's some players on the team that some of us might not like or believe in, but we want to be right about the players we believe in, and we want to be wrong about the players we don't believe in. Like I'm sure if Zach Wilson was to step it up and be a top 10 quarterback and become an elite superstar, Modine, you'd be happy, right? If the Jets won, even though, you'd say, oh, I'm glad I was wrong. Because at the end of the day, nothing is more important than us ending this like nightmare, this lifetime nightmare for a lot of us, and just being a great team. Like I'm not talking about having a good 1 or 2 years. I want to have a 10-year run. Like be a great franchise for 10 years. Be a competitor for 10 years. Every year for 10 years at least. A chance. Making the playoffs, doing all those great things. That's so long overdue. We've never had that. It's always lasted just such a small window. Like we get good for a couple of years and then it falls apart and we have to rebuild again.
Yeah.
Tired of that.
It's so second nature. Like I'm tired of it, but it's kind of ingrained in me, man. It stinks. Yeah. It stinks. But I'm ready to break those chains, man. I'm ready to do it. I'm confident. I'm confident we can. We've talked about it ad infinitum. Zach Wilson is the linchpin to the success of the Jets in 2022. But I'd be mistaken if we also didn't say like we need to really step up on the defensive side of the ball too. Like we were pretty pathetic last year on the defensive side. Now we've made a bunch of these splash plays here with the Garrett Wilsons and the Ruckerts and bringing in the revamping the tight end room, so on and so forth. Breece Hall, I think we also need to pay some mind to that defensive side of the ball that was Swiss cheese, susceptible to the big play, the small play, the short play, the bad play. We need to improve top to bottom on the defensive end as well. So as important Zach Wilson is for us as a whole, especially in the offense, I think guys like a healthy Carl Lawson or rejuvenated Q Williams, and guys on the back end of the defense that we brought in, DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner, those hold just as much importance as well.
Yeah. So Johnny, been around this team since '64. See all of the rosters, especially post '69. Just my opinion, but none of them ever felt as solid, top to kickers as this squad.
That's great, man.
That's great to hear.
That's a great positive, solid statement right there, right? Guy's older than he's older than me. Probably older than you, Jeremy.
Mm-hmm.
He's been here for a long time. He's seen all these Jets, and he feels comfortable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, look, I thought I went back a long way saying it. I became a fan in 81, 82, and I'm saying it after all these years of being a fan, 40 years, I haven't felt like this. It's the first time I've ever felt like this. We've had good runs, but I never felt like this.
Yeah.
Like I always felt like we had a couple of stars, and then we had some good things happen, and we came close. But not like this. Not like this. We have so many exciting special players. It's just we have everything, the potential for the elite players that every team that wants to win needs. Like we have the potential for eliteness with guys like, with certain players like Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, JJ, Breece Hall, whoever it is, Sauce Gardner. We have the depth now. When you talk about guys like Bryce Hall and Eccles and Guidry are all just backups or like your depth in a position, like it's starting to really look good for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really getting exciting.
Agreed, man. Agreed.
I do think we need to add some linebackers though. I understand that maybe the way they are building it and doing it, and but I don't know why they have so much faith in these young guys, and Sherwood who blew out his Achilles, and Nazaldine who couldn't even make the field. Like I just don't feel confident in that position.
JD does. And solid definitely does, or at least they're speaking as such that they do. That listen, it's clear as it's evident that they do because they didn't touch the position, they didn't touch it in free agency, they didn't use any draft capital on it whatsoever. So that they must like the guys, and I think improving both the front end and the back end of the defense is going to make the guys in the middle a lot freer, a lot able, a lot give them the ability to kind of move in space a little bit, really play the linebacker position. Again, these guys, especially the two young kids, they're just learning how to play linebacker. Quincy Williams had some outstanding plays, but he's also a liability at some point. CJ Mosley, there's not much you could say that was terrible about CJ Mosley last year. The guy played great, but even at times he was overmatched because, nothing was getting done up front or in the back, So maybe they're confident that you build strong in those areas up front and the back, and the scheme will allow the linebackers to make plays. Or maybe they're just not that important in this scheme. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they just want guys who can cover. And
you play with a lot more. You're going to play with a lot more, defensive backs on the field than you do in the past. There's going to be times where there's only one linebacker on the field. You might play big nickel where you bring in an extra safety in the box, or you're playing 4 defensive backs and dime. So
yeah. So what is it with Jet fans? If you're a fan of one quarterback, you cannot be the fan of the next. If you back Sam, you have to hate Wilson. If you hate Sam, you have to love Wilson. Seriously, what's with that? I don't know, man. I mean, because the truth is, before we traded Sam, I weighed to the side of, we have the second pick in the draft. This is our opportunity. I didn't hate Sam. I was disappointed. I was upset. I thought we had our guy. Nobody wanted Sam to. I mean, any Jet fan, you'd have to have your head examined if you didn't want Sam Darnold to work out and be an amazing quarterback. But it just wasn't happening. So I was definitely one of the fans, not that hated Sam, but I definitely sided to the side of let's move on, because how often do you get the number 2 pick in the draft? I felt it was a great year for quarterbacks last year in that draft. So I said, this is a great opportunity for us to try again. But I didn't hate Zach Wilson. Sam Darnold. I don't know why people have this hatred for him. I definitely didn't hate him. I was just disappointed that he didn't work out. I think he's, I think he was a good kid. I would have loved for him. Like, I was thinking, man, if there's a chance he could work out and we kept him, think of how good we could be. Like as far as the draft capital, like we could take that second pick and trade down and get a ton of draft capital, and we could do so much. But deep down, I felt, but at the end of the day, you need a quarterback. And I didn't believe Sam Darnold would be it. I don't know why people couldn't just be like, even if you love Sam Darnold and you didn't want them to give up on him, you couldn't still like Zach Wilson when they drafted him and say, well, okay, I thought they should have held on to Sam Darnold, but that doesn't mean I have to hate Zach Wilson or whoever they drafted. I don't understand why fans are like that, and why it has to be so black and white. What do you think, Tom?
I'm a big proponent of exactly what you just said. As I said, I love Sam Darnold. I thought he was going to be the guy. And I love Zach Wilson, I don't know, man. I think the writing was on the wall at the second pick. We weren't gonna, it wasn't working with Sam. New regime. They weren't tied to the guy. In a very quarterback friendly draft at that point. I thought it was inevitable that we were going to move on from Sam Darnold, or at least keep him and give him some competition with a very high draft pick. Where I was more upset, I got to be honest, was when we lost the Trevor Lawrence tankathon. There was a point in time where I thought Trevor Lawrence was really going to be a Jet. That's what I was really, really, really looking forward to. But it didn't work out, and Zach Wilson's on our team. And like I said, I love the guy. I love the skill set. I'm confident in the player that he can be. I think he's got to get better. I don't want to see him just a game manager. I want to see him utilize that arm skill and the moxie that he has, and really kind of lead our team to the next level.
Yeah, I just feel like game manager is a step. It's like, like it's a step, but it can't be the final step. We didn't draft him to be a game manager. We drafted him to be a franchise quarterback.
Correct.
For sure. And I think that he did show some of that in the beginning, but I think he had now, but like we saw some of those flashes, but it's like, first you have to get the feel of the game down. Like you have to have the ability to learn when to throw the ball away, when to, live to fight another play, that kind of thing, protect the ball, and balance that with when you need to stretch it out and take a shot and, and use that talent and make magic. And it's like, he just tried to make magic. And it's like, you have to calm down first, and you have to get a feel for the game and feel comfortable and get into a rhythm and let it kind of flow naturally and not force it. And I think that's what was starting to happen at the end of the year. Man, that touchdown pass to Keelan Cole, little Keelan Cole, wasn't that amazing?
Wonderful.
I mean, just beautiful pass. And then to Cole again, when he was running out of bounds, and he's like, he caught it like as he stepped out of bounds, like he caught it and then went out. Like it was so timed so perfectly by Zach. It was an absolute bullet. There were passes he made that made me my mouth dropped. They were like the kind of passes you see from Aaron Rodgers and from the great quarterbacks.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I think the biggest thing for any quarterback coming in their second year is that they understand they understand what they're dealing with now, and the game slows down. You hear about that all the time. Like the game slows down for them. They're not in their mind. They're not moving a mile a minute or 100 miles a minute. They're able to understand the pace. They're able to understand the schemes that the defensive coordinators are throwing against them that they've never seen before in their lives. They're able to get through the progressions. They don't get happy feet. Again, I think a lot of Zach's faults last year came with bad mechanics, and maybe it's because we lost Napper, early in the season, that could be it also. But I just think that, listen, he was a kid, kid quarterbacks don't always come in here and light the world on fire.
Yeah.
This is the year. This is the year that we're going to see some improvements,
Yeah. I mean, look, he can't start the year like over again where he was last year, game 1. He has to take over from game 15, game 16. Like if it's that Zach starting the year, I personally, even after camp, I'd like to see him a little better than even that Zach. But I think that's going to happen not just because of him being a little better, but I mean, I think he can start better because he's going to know the playbook better because now he's had a full off season to learn the playbook.
Correct.
But I think also the talent around him. Now, I mean, nothing could be more important than time, an offensive line that can actually give him pass protection. I mean, if that's not going to be the biggest difference, what would? Like, rather than getting the ball snapped to you and within 2 seconds you're under pressure, imagine what it's going to be like for him to actually sit in the pocket for just an average to better, amount of time to actually go through the progressions.
I still think that the best thing that's going to happen to Zach Wilson in 2022 is the addition of three extremely viable tight ends who can block and a running game that can control the offense, right? He's going to do his best work when they're not expecting him to. You put Zach Wilson in a decimated offense like you did last year, 4 wide receivers, 3 of them that were on the practice squad the week prior, with Greg Van Roten and whom else playing up front. Like you said, 1.8 seconds before pressure's in his face. That guy's not going to beat you all the time, But you get Zach Wilson working, handing off, establishing a good run game and working off that play action, utilizing the middle of the field, having those security blankets in those tight ends when things go awry. A better offensive line, a more stable, much better offensive line that can take that 1.8 second pressure rate and make that 3.5. Well, that's a different story. You can get to your second or third read. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Zach didn't see that a whole hell of a lot. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So. Thomas Cahill, have a good workout, pal.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it.
Yep.
And have a great week, too. It's going to be an interesting one. Some people were saying, hey, Jeremy, 22 days left of school days. Not for me, it ain't. This is the last week. Friday is our last day of the school year. Although I got to run summer school, it's very different, much more low key. Time for summer is the best time for me to relax, and get some rest. So again, I'll be broadcasting next week from North Carolina after eating a lot of pizza with Watu K99.
Are you guys getting together?
Next week on Sunday, a week from now, by this time, we'll have already eaten pizza together. So
how about it?
Yeah. So we're going to go on a little bit of a pizza tour.
Very nice, man.
Know each other our favorite places in the Raleigh-Durham area.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Dom C, do you think Jeremy Rucker will have impact this year? I can't see the name. Is it Shakira? I don't want to mispronounce it if I'm saying.
J. Cole. This is an alias account of his.
I'm not even going to waste my time then.
Okay. It's just like ridiculous. Okay. And look, he spelt it the same way he spells my name wrong. Like he spells my name wrong every time.
Jeremy?
Yeah, Jeremy. Oh my God. So look, everybody, this was a great show. I appreciate everybody in the chat. Great chat.
It was a great show. I can't believe it's almost 2 hours already. It flew.
It flew by, man. Yeah. I want to thank Nathan for being here the whole time. Rod D, John Nolte, Thomas Cahill, JW. Thank you so much, John. Let's see who else. Jets Mess. Always the big supporter. Salty Nolte. Raw Power. Thanks for being here. Thanks for stopping in. Grandizer. Man, one of my big supporters, big help, pushing my channel. I appreciate it, brother. Rod D, thank you so much. Submissions, thank you. Man, a lot of people came through. I don't want to miss people, but Johnny.
Iowan.
Man, I can't wait till I
got here, man. Late to the show, brother.
Who's here?
Iowan just checked in.
Oh, Iowan, what's up, butthell?
Reed, you're going to have to watch this one, man. Watch it. Watch the replay.
Oh, Johnny, are you 80, my friend? Are you 80? Wow. I'm going to he's near Palm Springs, so I'm looking forward to meeting up with him. But anyway, thanks to everybody. Iowa, I'm sorry you missed it. You were doing your floor. That's what they do in Iowa. They don't hire somebody. They literally buy flooring. They do it themselves. Like, can you imagine Iowa?
I wish I could. I'm pretty handy. Not that handy, though.
Oh, he's got the pencil in his mouth, the hammer. He's hammering in the corners of his new hardwood floor, I bet, or something. Man, I'm always giving him a hard time. Dark Soldier, buddy. How you doing? And, hey, so anyway, guys, thanks so much. Great show. Thank you so much, Dom C. As always, you definitely brought it. You're the man.
No, man. How can I be the man when you're the man?
Well, we'll see everybody on Wednesday. Wacky Wednesday. We'll be back on Wednesday. Next week, we'll do the defense, and we'll compare our defensive rooms to the rest of the AFC East. Today was absolutely a blast, so I cannot wait until we do that next week. It's going to be a good time.
Bye, guys.
Till then, I leave you with this. I would regret it if people look back at the first episode and you weren't on it.
Yeah, well, I like that. It's called forward thinking.
We have one of the worst beats in the world. We do. Our beat is horrible.
Connor could shove that article up his ass.
And then I went to that game, and I was like, this is the greatest team I've ever seen in my life. I'm a Jet fan. This is going to be the greatest run ever. Yeah.
No, because if they take Aquanu, I'm not complaining.
Joe Douglas is the king. The king. of keeping shit close to the vest.
A 2, a 4, and a 6 for Darnold?
Did the Jets really ruin Sam Darnold, or did Sam Darnold just suck all along and we were just trying to talk ourselves into it?
And Hamilton is a player who can potentially make a very big impact.
And suddenly here we are today. You can't get rid of him.
Right. It's like a plague.
Joe Douglas was hired because he's not those general managers.
Okay, Luscious.
Somebody is going to fall just like Elijah Moore did, just like Michael Carter did.
You know, what would, if you had one sentence to say to Joe Douglas, what would you say? So you would say, you had me at hello, and then give him a big old wet one right on the smack.